Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. We have a lot to get into, including Evgeni Malkin's future. Aaron Rodgers is back. What does that mean for the rest of the quarterback room? We'll get into that, plus the Steelers' schedule. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is going to be the Pirates, who lost 3 games in a row after leading 6-0 in Game 1. Here to talk about it is your panel. Left to right, we have Jeff Hathhorn, sports director at 93.7 The Fan. It's Chris Mueller, PM team, every day 2 to 6 on The Fan. And Wanda's agent, Will Graves from the Associated Press.
What up, Wanda?
All right, you guys are at the game today. Will, I want to start with you on this. It was a sweep. They've been swept now twice at home, the Pirates, by the Cardinals and this one. I know it's only May, but how significant was this weekend? Or it's just May and...
Well, I mean, like on Friday before the first game, we were in there with Don Kelly, and I said, is this a litmus test for you guys? And he goes, oh, you know, well, taking 2 out of 3 from the Rockies, their offense is better, and blah, blah, blah. That's what he's supposed to say. It was a litmus test, and they failed it. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, like once, you know, 2 things happened in that game on Friday night. When they went to the left-on-left against Schwarber and brought in Montgomery, and the first pitch goes over the fence. And then when Connor booted that ball in the 9th,
open up the doors,
snowballed, and you could just kind of sense the uh-oh. And I think that feeling permeated throughout the weekend.
Well, I'm not usually a big believer in like the intangible stuff where some teams expect to win and some teams hope that they win. But the Phillies, for as awful as they started the year, still expect to win. They fired their manager because they expect to win. They made changes because they expect to win. They also pay Kyle Schwarber $30+ million a year and Bryce Harper tons of money because they expect those guys to help them win. And what did they do? You could feel it coming once they blew the first game and didn't manage to rally and lost that one, that they were going to go down meekly in games 2 and 3, even with Skeens. Like I should have bet a lot of money that they were going to get swept because the Pirates are still in the mode where they are hoping that they've built a contender. The Phillies are a team that expects to be a contender, and I felt like that was on display.
Yeah, I mean, it did show that the Pirates are not ready for that level yet. I mean, it is the definition of running into a team that's white hot, like of catching the team at the wrong time. Phillies playing really good baseball. They ran into their 2 best pitchers. What's tough for me is you're losing O'Hearn now, and in the last 2 games, you had no chance to win. The game was over after 3 batters on Saturday. And today, you got 1 runner to second base. 1. I mean, the entire game.
Triol was playing right field on back-to-back days.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, that was sort of lost against the pretty decent by Pirate standards start. They were healthy. Like, they had not been hurt like some of these other teams have been losing guys. They have not been hurt. And to Jeff's point, I mean, O'Hearn, you know, 4 weeks. I mean, that's not 10 days. And that's, you know, I'm not saying, look, the season is going to be determined by the time he gets back, but I mean, really, we're going to see the depth that they say they have is going to be tested.
Chris, I want to ask you about the starting pitching, specifically Bubba Chandler. It's been good, except for Bubba Chandler. So that's a little bump in the road for him, or maybe it's a bigger bump in the road. What do they do with him? Because he's clearly struggling. He's walking batters, and when he's not walking, he's grooving pitches, and we saw that the other night. Do they put him in the bullpen? Do they send him down? Or do they just continue to ride it out and let him try to
Well, definitely put him in the bullpen. None of the guys in that bullpen can throw strikes. Bubba will fit right in. I mean, the problem is they see him as a starter. He sees himself as a starter. In the long term, I mean, they see Carmen Mlodzinski as a reliever, as like a weapon out of the bullpen, the way like Andrew Miller was for Cleveland years back, where you just, hey, we're going to bring in this dude who throws really hard and strikes people out. The problem is Mlodzinski probably has been better by rights. Chandler just can't get out of his own way. I think they're probably in a spot where when Jared Jones is ready, they're actually going to let Chandler try to pitch through it because the stuff is so good, and put Mlodzinski in that bullpen because they might need him to be the closer one night, the setup man another night, the 2-inning guy another night. I mean, they've done a lot of good things in terms of building this team to be more competitive and to be able to score runs and look like they can stand on even footing. But that bullpen is a looming major issue.
And Cherington said before the game that they're riding him. Like, there's no talk of him going down or him going to the pen. He's going out there every 5th day, and they're gonna play it out. They believe in his talent. The issue to me is what he was saying after the game is, you know, how he was soft. Just go out there and attack. Like, I don't know if he's just thinking, like, stop thinking, stop over game planning, and just go out and throw strikes. And if it's not good enough, then the batters will tell you. But, you know, I mean, it seems like every walk he has scores. Those walks have killed him. At least go out there. If you're going to go down and give up 12 hits, you give up 12 hits, but at least you're not walking.
Do we know
down.
that he's got a good enough command that he can say, I'm just going to throw strikes? Because some, like what you just said is, And I know he says all the right stuff. I think people like that he's very accountable to his own failures. But it reminds me, you guys golf. Oh, yeah, I got to stop blocking it. I'm just going to rip through the ball here and swing off the tee. Well, sometimes when you actually manage to do that, you snap hook at 50 yards left. So, like, I want to know if this is just mental on his part or if he really.
It is.
Well, I mean,
I hope it is, for the record, because if he can't command his pitches, it doesn't matter how tough he is mentally.
I mean, but we're sitting in Don Kelly's office yesterday, and he's literally talking before the game. He's got to attack. He can't think about not walking guys. He can't stand on the mound and think, well, I can't walk this guy. And what happened? First through batter, single walk, 3-run homer. I mean, like 457 feet off the batter's eye. I mean, it is mental, certainly, but like it's hard when like everybody sort of knows what the problem is. To Chris's point, everybody sort of knows what the problem is, and yet he is having trouble fixing it. At the same time, he's 23 years old.
Do you know?
So maybe we shouldn't panic yet.
One thing I will say, it's kind of adjacent to all this, is they kind of need a guy like Jones back for one reason. Jones has stuff. He's kind of a jerk. As we've seen, he can be kind of
is very generous.
I'm being generous here. I'm being generous. He's abrasive, and
if that helps him,
he enjoys being abrasive.
Okay, AJ Burnett, I think, was that type of guy, but also knew how to like talk to people normally. But he brought that like, I'll beat you up if this turns into a fist fight. And they need somebody else on that staff besides Paul, like stoic and brilliant Skeens, to come in there breathing fire and expecting to get guys out. Like, somebody else needs to be the guy that everyone else can follow the lead for.
As long as he can back it up with performance.
Sure. Oh, that's
yes. That was the thing. The last couple of months of his season, his rookie season, were not what they were to start the year. So let's see what he has. It seems like rehab's going well. That's a good
Well, I
thing
have 1 minute in this segment left, and I want to ask you about the bullpen. Are you more concerned that they don't have a legitimate closer, that it's by committee, or has there been a misevaluation of talent overall with this bullpen? Most
I
of the guys
would say a misvalue. I mean, look, Santana was really good last year. Like,
he was also DFA'd many times.
You know, and Soto has a pretty good track record and looked like he was going to be the guy the first maybe month of the season. I thought, well, obviously he'd played himself into that ninth inning role, but I think it's one of those things where, like, you know, in the NFL, if you get two quarterbacks, you have none, right? Well, maybe if you have two closers, you have none, because they're playing the matchups, which maybe they shouldn't. I mean, it wasn't the issue when David Bednar was back there.
Biggest problem is that their best stuff guy is a pitcher in their starting rotation as far as projected bullpen guys. Majinski could go in there and close games because he can throw gas.
He might end up being that guy.
In my opinion, their best setup is Majinski eventually moves to the bullpen, becomes their closer, and if you could get Montgomery to harness his stuff and be the eighth inning guy, I think Soto, Montgomery, Majinski is probably the best hypothetical group I can come up with, Jeff.
Here's the thing. Charrington's been really good at putting bullpens together, to his credit, over the years. This one just hasn't panned out, and it's cost them some games.
They wanted to bring in bats. They were focused on bats, and the bullpen is not exactly what it needed to be. So when we come back, we're going to switch and talk about the Steelers, and that means Aaron Rodgers, who is back in the fold. We'll talk about that and their schedule coming up. All next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. It's taken some time, not as much as last year, but Aaron Rodgers is back. So he'll be at OTAs, you would assume, if he agrees to this contract tomorrow when they begin. Let's talk about that, what it means specifically to the Steelers. Will, I know that obviously he's their best chance to win this year, but he also presents a problem in that you can't evaluate what you have. What does it mean for the rest of that room? And ultimately, one of them has to go, don't they? They're not going to carry forward.
I mean, I think that my guess is with Mason, they hold on to him. Somebody gets hurt during training camp, and maybe they can flip him for like a 6th round, 7th round pick. That would be my guess. If they were,
do they want to? If they really do believe though in making the playoffs, do they want to do something like that, where then your backup is a guy who's never played an NFL snap at that point?
And given how he is 43 soon to be, that's
the flip side of that is though, at least because like the problem is we could be sitting here 10 months from now, and they're in the same spot, right? Where they don't have a starting quarterback. Where they were until 8 o'clock last night, where you have Will Howard and Drew Aller, and that's your room, and you don't even know if they can play, right? So maybe that's what I would do. I would say.
I understand that if he got hurt, you would find out about one or both of those guys. But philosophically, if you're bringing him in, you're probably going to want to keep the veteran backup, because if he goes down for 2 or 3 games with a nasty case of osteoporosis, you want somebody who can help out.
But they can't get rid of the veteran backup. Didn't we hear how much they love Will Howard? Will Howard's a lock. Will Howard is a lock to make this roster, and a 3rd round pick is a lock to make this roster. So that means Mason is out. Period.
All right. So let's talk about before it gets to that. You're going to have this preseason
Jeff,
games that we have to do. We have 3 of them to judge these guys. Rodgers won't play. Mason maybe a little, but those 2 guys are going to get the lion's share. If Howard outperforms Aller, I know it's preseason. We've seen all sorts of things not happen the way you may expect. What does that mean for Will Howard or the third-string quarterback? Do you go by because he's a third-round pick, he gets the opportunity, or do you go by a guy who outperformed him in those games?
Assuming it's between those 2 guys, I think whoever performs better during camp and in the preseason games will be the backup quarterback. That's just how it'll work. What's intriguing to me is, like, if someone has a preseason like we saw last year, I can't even remember his name, the quarterback.
Skylar Thompson.
If they have a preseason like that and Aaron struggles early, and it's Howard or Aller, fans are going to be testy early.
I mean, I will say this. When we saw Aller at rookie minicamp last week, I can see why I don't want to break down friggin' footwork from friggin' rookie minicamp. Okay.
Why not? It's better than talking about Aaron Rodgers.
The dude is physically, I mean, he's impressive. I mean, I can see why if you're standing there looking at him and you're like, oh, dude, I will take this dude to be my football player. I mean, his traps are huge. He looks like he could be a football player. So I can see why the Steelers were, he's got the tools now. Can they refine them? But I mean, I think
it's the money ball bit, though. It's like he has a rocket arm. He's mobile. He's tough. There's just one problem. He can't play quarterback. Right,
not
we
the
have to
best
teach.
decision-maker.
Right.
But I mean, I think that
when you hear the term, we're going to break him down and absolutely.
But they've done that with everybody he's ever had.
What does that say about a guy, though? I mean, you're going to change everything that he's done.
I think it just says
sooner
that
or later those bad habits do creep back.
To me, that's a diss more at James Franklin and the Penn State coaching staff than it is anything else. Like, hey, you guys had this 5-star talent, and you really couldn't turn him into the quarterback you thought he could be, nor could you even get him close. I mean, McCarthy does have something on his resume where Aaron Rodgers used to throw the ball up from here at Cal, and McCarthy got him to slinging it from every angle, and look what happened. I mean, that is a Mike McCarthy success story. But Drew Aller is a lot further away than a first-round pick who could have gone 1 overall had the Niners liked him more, is from being a pro.
And what's crazy is, to your original point, after this season, the 26th season, assuming Aaron doesn't still think he has another year in him, what have you found out? If he's healthy all year, what have you found out? Are you going to go into that draft that we got to get a quarterback?
Information, and you're going to have to redraft the position.
I'll give my short answer to that. If that's what happens, and Aaron is done after this year, here's what they really think. We're drafting a guy in round 1 next year. We're going to move up and take a guy from a better class. Drew Aller is our backup because that's the guy we drafted when Mike McCarthy was here. See you later, Will Howard. It's gonna prove to be what it's always been about Will Howard, which is a lot of nice but empty talk.
Okay. Another minute left, so we're going to make this quick. What is the ceiling for Aaron Rodgers this year? Last year we saw against the best teams, he wasn't his best. I think they went 1-6 against playoff teams.
I mean, I think he looks competent most of the year, right? And I think it's fair to, and he'll have he has Pittman, a couple other weapons they didn't have last year.
And he can sling it still.
I think if they can protect him, he'll be about where he was.
Chris?
I think he'll be worse. I do. A year older. I don't think he was that good in a lot of games. I think he was good late in some games when he decided, okay, chips are on the table. I'll stand in and make the throws. I've seen nothing or heard nothing to make me think that the biggest problem he had last year, which is that he didn't want to hold on to the ball to try to make plays, is going to be any different now that he's a year older.
Plus, I think a younger offensive line, which is in kind of
right. I mean, the left side of the offensive line is a question mark right now, but better receivers. You're going to use Freiermuth better, and an offense that he knows very well. I think he could be better. Not like top 5 quarterback better, but he could be better than last year.
And McCarthy knows what he's doing offensively, so that should help the proceedings as well. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Steelers' schedule. It came out this week. A lot of interesting dates and games, many of them backloaded. We'll get into that next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Schedule release is always something people love to talk about. You knew the games. Now you know when they're going to play the games and the times of these games. Let's take a look at them real quickly. We'll get these guys to comment. Falcons is the opener, then New England, then Bengals-Browns. That's a very interesting 3 and 4 because the Browns is a Thursday night, so 3 games after the days after the Bengals, they go to Cleveland. Then Colts, Buccaneers, Saints. Now you know about that in Paris, but there is no bye week after that Saints game. They go against Cleveland. Then the bye, and then things really ramp up in the second part of that schedule. You'll take a look at it here, gentlemen. You got at Bengals, at Eagles, and then home games to the Broncos and Texans, at Jags, then 2 of the last 4 against the Ravens. So, Jeff, when you look at this, what do you see?
That the bye week is in a really good place for them. From the standpoint of, I know you've got to face Cleveland after you get back from France, but to have a break before you hit that part of the schedule is crazy. And you're right. I do think it's a bit of a trap to have that Thursday night early after the Bengals game.
It's always a
when
trap to
Joe
go to
Burrow
Cleveland
might
on
still be
Thursday
healthy.
We don't know if Mike McCarthy puts the same immense amount of emphasis on the bye week Mike Tomlin used to. Or say, well, now we can scout league trends. Apparently, we can't do that. I can't assign people to do that while there are actual games to prepare for. But we'll get the bye week and then we'll figure it all out. That week 10 through week 15 stretch. Listen. I know I'm the doom and gloom guy. They better be 6-2 heading into that,
or better.
Because if they're not, 0-6 is on the table if Nix is good and healthy this year, if the Texans figure anything out with Stroud. Just look at the teams they're playing. They never win in Philly. Put that as a loss right now. The Bengals, if they're still healthy Burrow, that could be a loss.
At Jags.
1-5, 2-4 is absolutely realistic. So they had better make hay. Remember in 2024 we said, "Ooh boy, that end of the schedule, Chiefs and all that, that looks tough." And what did they go? 0-4, and then 0-5 if you count the playoff game. That's what I think.
I mean, I think the good news about that would be I'd rather have that at the end of the season than the beginning, because I think they're building. I mean, I think like they're not going to be a finished product week one, and they will have a chance to get better. They will. I believe that. I think the offense is going to be better than it's been for years. And I think by the time we get to that stretch, maybe you're like, oh, hey, Rodgers has found the fountain of youth, and Pittman's like the best number 2 receiver in the league, or Aaron Rodgers could get hurt week 3. Cam could get hurt week 4. Will Howard starting week 7, and it could be a disaster. I mean, the one thing I do like selfishly is I like the fact that there are 1 p.m. home games in a lot of them, because which maybe says something about, how the league feels about them. I know they go, 4, quote, feature games or whatever, which is down at least 1 from what they usually get. So I think maybe the league is saying, well, the Steelers might not be the Steelers we've seen.
Offensive line, real quick. I want to hit on it because at this point we don't know what's going to happen with Broderick Jones. He was a guy who they thought was going to be here for a decade. It may not work that way. Now they have another guy. What's the most likely combination on the offensive line? Minute total. Give me 30 seconds.
I think it's probably Cook.
Cook?
Yeah, I don't think Jones seems to me to be.
How about Latanu over there?
But then you're moving a bunch of parts. Then, all right, is McCormick still going to be a right guard? Fine. Is Ihanachor stepping in day one? Fine. I mean, Dunker, is he going to win left guard really quickly and allow you to keep Fautanu out there and allow you to slow roll Ihanachor? I think they've got more questions early on than people think about that, and they have to get them ironed out quickly.
I mean, I think that it sure sounds like Broderick's done. I mean, that's the feeling I get.
That's a killer.
Right?
It seems very foreboding.
I mean, do
you think Dylan Cook could be a regular?
No.
Or do you think he's just?
I think there's a very
did
good.
well last year.
Ihanachor, forgive me, the rookie. I forget. I don't want to mispronounce his name. It's not like an idiot.
Ihanachor.
I think he could be the left tackle week 1. I mean, I think there's and you just keep Fautanu with the right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, Ihanachor is the wild card here. Like, if he's good and you put him on the right side and move Fautanu to the left, and I still think Spencer Anderson could be that guard, and you could have Jennings Dunker as your Spencer Anderson, where he's out on both ends.
Hold on, we're forgetting Hoffman. How could we forget Brock Hoffman, the rock star? By the way, do you want to, if Fautanu's starting to settle in as a really good right tackle, do you want to flip him? How many parts do you want to
college a lot? He played there in college a lot.
Here's the case for moving Ihanachor. If you think he's a great athlete, he hasn't played enough football to have the right tackle stuff. Hey, this is how you kick step out, so ingrained that it's hard to switch. If you think he's a great athlete, maybe move him.
Got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the future of Evgeni Malkin. He says he wants to be here. Sounds like Dubas wants him back, but still no deal. Why is that? Next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. And now for some news you're going to want to act on fast. Employee pricing for all is back at all 5 #1 Cochran Ford stores, and that means you pay what a #1 Cochran team member pays on new models like the 2026 Explorer, the Bronco, or the F-150, all without ever having to clock in. Plus, when you join #1 Cochran Club One Rewards, you'll earn an extra 50,000 reward points. So get your employee pricing today at Cochran.com. Jeff, I want to ask you about Evgeni Malkin. He wants a year, maybe 2. Dubas seems like he wants him back. Does it get done? And if so, what's the price?
Yeah, I'm okay with the 1-year deal, maybe even slightly more than what he got last year. Listen, he's not blocking anybody, and he had a good season. And it seems like Dubas was impressed with his attitude and what he did on wings. So I think it's right there for them to do it.
I think if it was easier to move Chris Letang, that's the big three member that they would love to get out of town because his play has suffered, and I think he'd be open to playing elsewhere. I think it's going to be 1 year at maybe like a $500,000 raise, and he is back because he's good for Igor Chinakhov too, and he was a productive player.
I mean, I think we were all startled when Dubas said we would love to have him back because that's a 90-degree turn from basically where they were. But it also gives them cover. Maybe if it doesn't happen, you can say, well, Gino wanted 2 years, and I wasn't going to do that. So.
What's the price if it's 1 year, real quick?
How
about if he wants-
He made 6.1 last year.
I mean, I would say pay him $7 million.
7.1. I like the symmetry of that.
Play the Price is Right game, higher or lower.
I'd do 8 because I've got the cap room.
Okay, there we go. We'll find out soon in this offseason, which should be very interesting for the Penguins. We'll take a break, come back with more right after this. All right, we had an active weekend. Gentlemen, your biggest surprise this weekend?
Aaron Rye winning the PGA Championship kind of out of nowhere with all the big names.
Aronimink holding up. Everyone's, 20 under, they're going to blitz this
That's a good
place.
point.
No, I like a
They were
good.
nasty.
I like it when a major has a winning score that, other than the U.S. Open, where they want to protect par. I like not getting to double digits. That was nice.
I think Wemby getting hosed on MVP.
I agree with that.
Oh, SGA just got 2
SGA.
more shots with that one. As soon as you said that, that was actually a flagrant one against SGA. Let's go to the line for 2
If they
more.
only did it by height.
Tomorrow, game 1 of that series, if you like the NBA, OKC against San Antonio. That should be a great one. Maybe even the NBA championship before they meet the East. That's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next Sunday night for another edition of the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Good night.